Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Homewrecker podcast. Thank you very much for that adjustment. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Adjusting my headphones here at the start of the show, and my glasses got caught on them.
Well, that's because he had the glasses put up over on his head, and then he's trying to put his headphones, and the top of it, the band that goes over the head, was like going on the glasses.
Well, unless I'm looking at like my phone for notes, or I'm looking at the computer screen to type something, I can't wear the glasses because they only help me to see up close, and if they're on and I'm looking anything more than 8 inches from my face, it hurts my eyes. So I have to keep them up here and able to drop them down over my eyes if I need to quickly. So I forgot they were there. And anyway, no one cares. Welcome to the Homewrecker podcast, everybody. I'm the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous wife, Monique. How are you, Monique?
Hello, I am well. How are you?
I'm great. Fantastic, as always.
Excellent.
Yes. So what's going on with you? Before we get into this show, anything new that you'd like to talk about? Anything you'd like to say?
I will say I was able to make some more Organite dragons, do a couple things. I'm hoping that by the time this episode comes out, I'll have the video out on TikTok where I show people how to make Organite. So I'm going to share that on my TikTok, and I've been making some dragons, so please go to tarotbymonique.com, check that out, or follow me on my TikTok, and that is Monique Pliakis if you want to check out my work.
There you go. Awesome.
And I forgot to mention the last episode where we were saying what's going on. We recorded an episode with our friend Karen Rontowski of the Paranormal Karen podcast, and we were talking about cryptids. It was really fun, and that should be coming out pretty soon, so keep an ear out for that.
On her show?
On her show,
right.
Paranormal Karen.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so if you don't already subscribe to that podcast, what are you waiting for?
Right.
All right. So why don't we get into what we're talking about today? I'm begrudgingly doing this show with you here. This was your idea. I'm going to just throw you under the bus for this idea right off the bat here. We're going to talk about
Under the Dome.
This is something. This is just...
So we got a free trial of the Paramount channel. Paramount Plus. We got a free trial of 6 months, and they have some good stuff on it. And we found a show, Under the Dome. It's from 2013, and it's originally a novel by Stephen King that they adapted for television.
It's another one of the many Stephen King books turned into a TV series or movie or whatever.
So this is from 2013. If you haven't watched it, there are going to be a lot of spoilers that we're going to talk about.
Oh, we're going to spoil the crap out of this show. And, and you know what? I'm going to say right off the bat, typically we try to watch the language. We might not be putting this one out on YouTube because I'm going to swear freely on this one. I'm going to cuss a lot because it's going to be very hard not to. So you've been warned. Spoilers and language.
Yeah. You have been warned. We watched the first episode and we thought, okay, not bad. It's pretty interesting. The hook of it caught us, and we basically got to a point, there's only 3 seasons, where we were just like, oh, well, we want to know what's going on. Okay, let's keep going. And then it was just like, we're almost done. We'll finish it. So the show starts off with this town called Chester's Mill, and I don't remember them saying where it actually is. I just remember seeing a synopsis that it's a New England town. IMDb says it's Maine. I don't actually remember anyone saying it's Maine. Do you?
I don't remember anybody saying it's Maine. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. But
and the license plates on the vehicles don't look like any license plate I've ever seen. It almost looks like a very old-fashioned type of license plate, so you can't even get a state out of that necessarily.
Yeah, and it's not one of those shows that takes place like, I don't know, decades ago or anything. It takes place in like more of a current time because the characters have cell phones, they have social media, they talk about Twitter and vlogging and stuff. So it's obviously like a current contemporary type show. Yeah.
It's over 10 years old, but still for that time, current. Right. So the residents there, all of a sudden this dome force field comes down on the town. It's like a 10-mile radius, and the people are trapped inside. And when this dome comes down, it comes down. It cuts homes in half. There's like a cow that gets sliced in half, and vehicles can't go through it. A plane crashes into it. It's causing all kinds of havoc. The people are trapped inside, and they determine or learn that there's some form of it messes with electric items. So there's the sheriff who has a pacemaker, and it basically blows out the pacemaker and kills the guy.
If you get close to it,
if you're like very, very
right,
close,
like within inches up of it, or if you touch it,
Mm-hmm.
if you have any kind of electrical device near you or on you, it will
kind of blow.
Go haywire.
Yeah.
Explode. It's typically, yeah.
And it seems when most people touch it, at first it's almost like a static kind of shock, but then they can touch it after somewhat safely. So this dome comes down, the people are trapped inside, and you have it's an ensemble cast, but the main characters are Dale, Barbie, Barbara, and he is somebody who isn't from that town, but happens to be there on a job and gets stuck. There is Julia Shumway, who is the local reporter. There is James Jr. Rennie, whose father is James Big Jim Rennie. James Big Jim Rennie is a used car salesman and a selectman, and his son is a college student home for the summer. There is James, I guess, girlfriend Angie McAllister, and her brother Joe McAllister, who I want to say Joe McAllister was in Supernatural. We recognized him from Supernatural.
His name's Joe McAllister, the actor?
No, I'm going over the character names.
Okay. Well,
So
you got to say the actor's
the
name.
The actor who played Joe McAllister, Colin Ford, he was in Supernatural. He, in some episodes, played a young version of Sam
Winchester.
Yes, Sam Winchester. Sorry, I just assume everyone knows Supernatural.
Yeah, you just assume everybody knows what you're talking about.
Everyone should know what I'm talking about. There is a couple, Carolyn Hill, and I'm trying to remember. Is it Allison? Yeah, Alice Calvert and their daughter Nori, who are from LA, and they're in town trying to go to some camp, I think the next town over. And there's some other characters in there. Those are kind of, I think, the main characters.
Those are the ones that you pretty much see throughout the entire show.
So
right, throughout every season.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of take over on the synopsis of the first season?
Oh, it's just the you just see how they're all getting along inside of the dome, trying to navigate life inside of this dome where they're trapped, and they don't know how long they're trapped for. They don't know where this thing came from. They don't know if they can escape it, if anybody can get in it. I mean, what is it, like the second or third episode? The government tries bombing it.
Yeah.
Sends like a nuclear missile at it, and it doesn't even phase it.
So
yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where, like, what's going on?
So,
and that was the hook. That's what kept me for the first season.
What's going on
Are we going to figure out what's going on? Like, where'd this thing come from? What is it?
I feel it does a good job pointing out the typical what you think reactions would be. People at first think, well, the government will help us. They'll save us. They'll fix it. They'll figure it out. And when they realize that the government isn't helping,
the government's answer is we're going to nuke it.
Yeah.
That was their answer.
It starts, the government tries to bomb it. And it doesn't work. And the townspeople, it just becomes chaotic. They realize, like, what about food? They start looting. They start just doing whatever so they can survive. And
it's chaos. Chaos is what happens. People start getting scared that they're not going to be able to leave and get out. They're not going to be able to get supplies. They're stuck with whatever is in the dome.
And what was a real trip for me was the fact that you're getting a whole season, which feels it has to be at least weeks or months going by with all the action going on. But basically,
the entire show, all 3 seasons take place over what, 4 weeks?
Barely. And the first season's supposed to be like the first week. So it's hard to grasp as even something realistic, because there's just so much happening every single day. And the way the show transitions, it's hard to keep track. It feels like more time has gone by than they're saying has.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. You know how they have like those show recaps and everything? Like they'll have a character narrate what's happened thus far before every episode. And they give you a little quick highlights, like a little 40-second thing. We always skip it, but you always get like the first couple of seconds before you can hit skip recap or whatever. And it always started out with 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days. By like episode 10, it's like 5 days ago. And you're like, what the? It's only been 5 days? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, all this has happened in 5 days? Like, you have, again, spoilers, big time spoilers. I'll say this a million more times before we're done. But you have like an underground fight club and a casino and all this stuff like opens up. It's like, what?
In like a matter of a day.
How did this happen? And like half the town already knows about it and they're all down. It's like, what? Huh? How's this happening?
And another concept I forgot to mention is basically the beginning of the series of season 1 starts off with about, you have this dome, but there's another underlying story. It seems Big Jim, the selectman, the sheriff, and the reverend, who's also the mortuary guy, are all in cahoots with some kind of drug ring that involves shipping in propane. And Julia Shumway, who's the reporter, gets called by a neighbor across from the propane place who's like, something fishy is going on. So there's thoughts like Big Jim knew about it because he got all the propane, but it was really for drug dealing. And it was this weird thing to keep the drugs out of his town. He'll give the supplier in exchange for money for the town the propane needed. It was so weird.
Yeah, I got a little convoluted there.
Thank you. That's the word I was fishing for. But all this is going on. And of course, within the first few episodes, I'm thinking, okay, if that really happened, one of two things would be going on. Either we would just be at home doing our normal thing, just like whatever, we're still going to do what we do. Or I would be going to the person in charge saying, here is a binder of plans.
Wait, hold on though. Who's the person in charge?
It would be the sheriff or the selectman. That was the other thing. Like there was no designated person in charge.
And there's only one selectman for
Everyone
this town?
else was out of town.
Okay, I see. So he's the only one that was in the town when the dome came. Okay.
Because there was stuff going on. There was like some parade the fire department went to and most of the cops went to. So they only had like a few deputies of a sheriff's office, which by the way, they're treating the sheriff's office like a local police department. But sheriffs oversee like counties.
Yeah, okay. This is TV. Though. They never get any of this factual stuff correct.
So it's just, that's ridiculous too. But all this is going on and I'm thinking, everyone's just kind of dumb. Nobody is saying, hey, we have to plan long term. And if this is something long term, we need to work together to make a plan to make sure that we can survive. Like nobody's doing that.
Because that's probably what would happen in real life.
The government will save us.
People are dumb. I mean, sorry if you're offended by that comment, but it's true. People are dumb. People wait for, especially nowadays, they wait because they think someone else is going to save them. Newsflash, no. You have to be self-sufficient. You just, as much as you can be. But yeah, that's the thing. There's chaos ensues, and that's kind of what I liked about this first season, because it pretty accurately portrayed what probably would happen in a scenario like something like this.
Oh, I agree.
Not a dome coming down, but some type of an emergency or something where all of a sudden, there's no supply. I mean, look what happened when there was no toilet paper in stores.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That right there just should tell you how dumb people are, how much people panic, and it's ridiculous. But that's it. That to me was pretty accurately done.
Mm-hmm. And there's this other side story with the character Junior, whose girlfriend Angie, basically, they show in the beginning them having intercourse and
having relations.
And she's basically like, he's like, I love you. And Angie's like, okay. She's like, this is just like a summer fling. You're going back to
Yeah.
school.
This is
She's
more
like, whatever.
hit it and quit it. She's like a hit it and quit it type of lady.
Yeah, but apparently Junior has been in love with her since the 3rd grade, and he goes a little psycho and ends up locking her in the family's bomb shelter.
He hits her in the head, kidnaps her,
Yeah.
and locks her in the bomb shelter.
After the
What?
domes come down.
Yeah. Like, what the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was this whole thing where he thinks Barbie, like, we haven't talked about him yet, but like, because they brought somebody to a hospital to help them, and Angie is talking to Barbie asking for a cigarette. So Junior assumes like they have something going on.
Because he's following Angie like a sick psycho stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this character, Barbie.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get into this
guy. Oh, my
guy.
God. Okay.
Let's get into him.
Why don't you explain it? I think you might do better.
All right. I'll do my best. Correct me if I miss anything or help me out if I do. So this guy, I think the first time we see him, he's driving his car and he's on the phone with somebody talking about a double cross or something. And
no, where he's burying a body.
He's burying a body. Okay, and then he's on the phone.
Scene.
Okay, then he's getting on the phone with somebody, talking to somebody. I think was he talking to Max or something?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's talking to somebody named Max, who we obviously don't know who that is yet, and explaining that he didn't have the money. He had a gun. And blah blah blah. Whatever. He's explaining what happened, and essentially he killed this guy and he buried him. And so then the dome comes down, and he saves little Joe McAllister from, I forget exactly the scenario.
So what happens is the dome comes down, something happens, he goes, I think it was a moment before the dome comes down, there are cows in the road. He swerves and goes off through a gate onto somebody's property and blows out a tire. And then Joe McAllister, that's his family's farm, he comes running out, and then the dome comes down, and a plane crashes, flies right into it, and the debris from the plane is coming down, and Joe McAllister's just looking up in the sky at it, and Barbie's like, move, and like pushes him out of the way.
Okay, that's what it was. Thank you. I'd forgotten what he did, but okay, thank you. And so then from there, we go on to see this Barbie guy goes through the town, starts meeting people and talking to people, whatever, and everybody, of course, trying to figure out what's going on. Now, remember, this is day 1. Now, we come to find out over the next several episodes, which apparently are only like 2 or 3 days, but we come to find out the guy he killed is this Julia lady's husband.
The guy was a doctor.
Who was a doctor, and we find out that the reason he killed him is because he's a debt collector for a bookie, for the mob, whatever, and so he kills this guy, and we find out that it's Julia's husband, and Julia and him end up getting romantically involved.
Oh, not just involved, but in love.
Like within like 4 days.
Yeah.
It's like fast.
I think it's day 3.
Yeah. And then she finds out that he killed her husband because she's like wondering where her husband is. He's missing. He hasn't come home. She's assuming he's on the outside of the dome. Oh, that's the other thing. You can't make phone calls. Internet connection is cut off, so they can't communicate with the outside world either, and the outside world can't communicate with them. So they're just cut off from the outside world, these people that are inside this dome.
The only glimpse they have is there's a radio station, and the girl who runs it, Dodie, is trying to pick up signals, and every now and then it sounds like she's getting radio communication from the military.
It sounds like she's getting something from the military. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So anyway, this Julia is assuming her husband just left town and he's gone because didn't she find a note or something?
Well,
some weird happened. Oh, that's right. His sister. That's right.
I think
they have like
day 3.
they have like a day where family from the outside world can come to the dome and see their family that's trapped inside the dome. This just happens. And so she sees like her sister or something she sees her sister-in-law, this Julia, thank you. Sees her sister-in-law who has a letter from her brother, Julia's husband, that basically it says like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a screw up, blah, 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 whatever. Julia deserved better or something like that. Basically making it look like he left town is the assumption you get reading the letter. Now we, as the viewer, know that he's dead, but this is what Julia assumes. So she's like, well, he was a piece of crap, whatever, he left me, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Barbie, come here, let's hook up. That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, and I do want to say, too, the way it was done, it gives the thought of he took off on her, but then I kept thinking, did somebody plant that ahead of time because they knew like what was going on? But it does make sense, I guess, the next day or the day after.
An hour later or whatever.
I don't know.
Who knows?
She finds out that her husband took out a huge insurance policy on himself.
Yeah.
That would basically pay back all the debt. He lost the house gambling. So she finds
She
all
didn't
this
know.
out.
Yeah, she doesn't know that their house got foreclosed because
She
he
had
lost it.
no idea.
She didn't know he was a gambler. She didn't know any of this stuff. But she ends up finding out that he's dead, and the Barbie, the guy she's been sleeping with, so quickly after finding out her husband's gone or assumes her husband isn't coming back.
What does that tell you about that relationship?
Yeah. She finds out the Barbie is the one that killed her husband. He explains what happened, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she forgives him. She's mad for like a day. Not even a day. She's mad for like an afternoon.
She's not even mad because she said, she's like, I understand why you did what they did. So basically her husband
so ridiculous.
Kind of tried to kill himself.
Oh, yeah.
He had an unloaded gun. He pulls the gun on Barbie, making Barbie think that he's going to shoot him.
So Barbie shoots him.
So they end up fighting. Barbie tries to get the gun away, and they end up fighting, and Barbie shoots him and kills him. It was a self-defense kind of thing.
Wait a second. Barbie shoots and kills him while they're fighting over the unloaded gun?
No, he had his own gun.
Oh, okay.
And they ended up fighting, and then Barbie shot him with his loaded gun.
Okay, got it.
And Julia puts the pieces together that he put himself in that situation knowing he would get killed because he wanted his wife to get the insurance money. So she wasn't even really mad at him. She was just kind of upset about it all. But she made him sleep on the couch for one night.
Yeah, he sleeps on the couch for a night.
One night.
Like what? It's just so bizarre. Like the whole relationship's like what?
Yeah.
It made that part is even now recounting it. That's just upsetting. Yeah. It's so stupid. Like, come on, this would never happen. Come on.
Can we stop for a moment and put ourselves in this scenario? Let's say,
do we have to?
This dome comes down. My husband is missing. Oh, and one of the things that happen is they're bringing people to the hospital, and she's like, "Well, where's my husband?" And the one's like, Peter hasn't worked Sundays.
Yeah, because he's a doctor.
For like a month. Yeah, her husband was a doctor. And she's like, what? So she's thinking he's cheating.
This is Julia we're talking about.
Yes, Julia thinks he's cheating. But even still with that, some dome comes down. My husband's nowhere to be found. And then I find out like within a day that he's been lying to me.
He's been lying. He's possibly been cheating on me.
And within 3 days, it seems like he took off. So I'm thinking he took off with another woman. I can see how a woman might think, my husband took off with another woman. Screw it. It's chaotic. This could be the end of the world. I get that. But the way the story between Dale and Barbie develop.
Dale and Barbie are the same person.
I'm sorry. Julia and Barbie develop.
You
Thank you. It just seems a little too unrealistic with how quickly they fall in love. Because again, if this story was taking place over a matter of weeks and months, it could seem more likely.
You could see like a romance forming, growing, whatever. Yeah, sure, there's physical attraction at first, but in order for it to grow to love, I'm sorry, I think that would take more than a day or two.
Yeah.
Especially in this type of environment where there's so much going on. Like you got time to fall in love with somebody. It's just, and it's somebody that you find out killed your husband.
And that literally takes one night of the guy.
What?
Not only do you let him stay in your house, you let him sleep on the couch. He's staying in your house.
After she finds out that he killed
and
the
you're
husband.
Still like hugging him and kissing him in the morning.
It's like what? What is going on? Yeah, it was just bizarre. Yeah.
And the characters Joe and Nori come together where Nori's parents and Nori, because they don't have anywhere to stay, there's a restaurant called the Sweetbriar owned by a woman, Rose, and she has a spare guest room or something up above. She's letting them stay there, which is very kind of her. And Joe has a generator at his house. His parents were both out of town, so he's home alone, and his sister can't be found.
Well, they were outside the dome.
They were out. They were out of town. They're outside of the dome.
Yeah.
His sister's locked in a bomb shelter. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know where she is.
Just thinks she took off. And so what happens is a friend of his ends up inviting some girls over because he's got a generator and they can charge their phones. And then more people come over. There's a party. Nori shows up because she hears about it, and she ends up becoming friends with Joe. and their relationship kind of begins with a friendship.
Speaking of which, actually, now that you mentioned that, I'm sorry, we'll get back to that. But what happened to all the teenagers?
I know. Can we talk about the inconsistencies with the townspeople?
I guess we're going to jump all over the place now.
This is supposed to be taking place over less than a month. And you go between episodes and even seasons where characters are there and then they're just gone.
And they're just gone with no explanation whatsoever. Like I just mentioned, the teenagers. There's tons of teenagers show up at Joe's house for this party and to charge their phones and all this stuff. You know, teenage girls, whatever. All, you know,
and teenage boys. Yeah.
But you never see them again after. Like they're just gone. They vanish into thin air. You never see them again. There's no explanation. There's nothing. It's like, okay, where'd they go? Where are all these people?
Now, this is a town with a population of 1,975.
Yeah, they keep rounding up. They keep saying we have 2,000 people in Chester's Mill and blah blah. Like all the characters keep saying it. Now, yes, people die from the beginning of the season 1 to the end of season 3. Of course,
a lot of people
die, but no youngsters that we ever see, and all the deaths you pretty much see, and they're all like adults. So it's like, where'd the kids go? Yeah. Where'd all these teenagers go that were at this party? Like, where is everybody? Mm-hmm. You don't. It's like, what's going on here? It's just very inconsistent.
And so Joe and Nori, as they become friends, they're trying to figure out what's going on with the dome. And Joe is very smart. He's very intellectual, really into science, and he thinks about, well, a dome, what would be at the center? He figures out where the center, he maps out the whole perimeter of the dome and figures out where the exact center is. He and Nori go there and they find an egg inside its own little dome. And they find Julia and they tell her about it. And she touches the dome and she sees Joe, even though Joe's right next to her. And Joe says the monarch will be crowned. And that was another thing that brought Joe and Nori together as well. They both have seizures when they touch the dome. And they're saying the pink stars are falling. And that was another thing that helped bring their friendship together. So there's this mini egg inside of a dome.
A mini dome.
Yes, a mini dome.
So we've got two domes now.
Yeah, a dome within a dome.
Yeah.
And all this stuff's going on. Meanwhile, in the town, there's stuff going on with Big Jim, and he's trying to, I can't remember if it's the first or second season, but they're trying to take people's guns away because
that's first season. Yeah, within the first season. Within a few episodes, he's like, we're going to take the guns.
It's all voluntary. I'm going to give up my gun.
Because what was it? He wanted to get like a hold of the water, somebody's well or something.
Well, before that, what had happened was somebody shot the dome and it ricocheted and accidentally killed somebody.
It ricocheted and killed one of the police officers.
And then there was somebody else kind of going crazy because, with their gun, and they had a gun and they were going crazy. So he felt for the best interest of the town, it's best to confiscate guns and it will be totally voluntary. I'll even give my gun up, which he doesn't. And yet he's carrying it. He's
got it on his
guns.
He's got it on his hip he's not a cop. He's not the sheriff. He's just some selectman, like whatever. So I guess by default, he's the guy in charge, I guess. But still, if this was real and somebody came up to me and was like, give me your gun, I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
I'd shoot him.
Give me your gun. Fuck you. You want my gun? Here, take it in your mouth. While I pull the trigger, you jackass.
That's what he said.
Oh, fuck yourself. Yeah. So it again, and people are giving them up like voluntarily, and it's like, what?
The one guy who won't give up the gun, he goes to get the gun.
Yeah.
And then he takes all his stuff and puts it in his bomb shelter.
Yeah. So he takes most of the guns and stashes them in his bomb shelter. So Big Jim, the big man on campus, the big man in charge, takes all the guns and puts them in his bomb shelter, so only he has the guns now. It's
and
like,
this is, I will say, this is after he finds Miss Angie McAllister chained into the bomb shelter.
Oh, yes, he finds her in the bomb shelter after she's been kept there for several days by his son. Mm-hmm. And at first, remember, he finds her at first, like, oh, good, finally, she's going to get out. And he just fucking leaves her there. He leaves her there. Yeah. She's all, like, thrilled, like, oh, thank God you got me out, whatever. Because remember, she's trying to escape, and she hits like a water pipe, and the water like starts filling up, and so she thinks she's gonna drown. He manages to he gets in there and like sees there's water coming, whatever.
There's no water pressure, and then he hears screaming through the pipes.
Yeah, so then he finally goes out. He checks the bomb shelter. He finds her, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "Junior tied me up. He put me in here. Blah blah blah. Let me out. Let me out. Thank you so much for getting me out." And he's like, looking like all like he's thinking, and he's just like, I got to think about this. And he just shuts the door and leaves her there. She's like, what the fuck?
He leaves her there.
He just leaves her there. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? I mean, if my kid like held somebody hostage, I don't think I'd just leave them there. I'd let them go.
He's gonna figure out a way to cover his ass.
But he's got to
make a plan.
But it's Big Jim, so yeah, he's the guy in charge. So he can't have his kid being the one that, yeah, it's just it's all about his image.
And it's
basically.
so weird because they portray this
bad.
character of Big Jim as this guy who really cares about the town, and then you see like
at first,
but it's like a roller coaster with his character, because then he becomes the biggest heel. Like, just looking at him, the actor does such a good job.
Yeah, Dean Norris.
Yes.
People recognize him from Breaking Bad. He was the DEA agent in Breaking Bad. He was really awesome in that show too.
He does such a great job with his character.
He's a good actor.
Like, you're watching him and you're just disgusted looking at him.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and now he's the good guy again. And now he's not. Like, what the fuck?
It's so
pick a fucking lane.
It's so just so back and forth. I mean, after the first couple of episodes, and you see us, like, for me, I hated him the minute he went and took the guns. I'm like, this fucking guy, fuck this guy. Because that's the ultimate heel, like the ultimate tyrant. Oh, I can have guns, but you can't, because I know what's good for you and you don't.
Right.
I hate people like that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that after that, I hated him. But how many people did he kill in the show? Like, needlessly.
I think more than I can
like,
count on two hands.
So many people he killed for the good of the town.
And then he was just fucking killing people for no reason. He killed a friend because she just happened to be there.
Yeah, and then he just start killing whoever. And it's like, what the fuck is going on with this guy?
That was the second season. He really derails. But so he does let her out. And we're 30 minutes into this, and we haven't even gotten much on the egg and the whole, like, where the story goes. So Angie comes home, and they go out. Angie, and Nori go out, and they touch the dome, and they realize...
Big Jim finally lets Angie out. We'll get back to that. He finally lets her go, and he tells her, don't say anything to anybody, and I'll make sure Junior stays away from you.
That's right.
If he comes near you, I'll take care of it or something. He won't come near you again, but you can't tell anyone what happened because, obviously it would tarnish his image and whatever. Oh, and by the way, and Junior, that's right. I forgot. Junior gets made a freaking deputy by the
sheriff.
By the sheriff.
The original sheriff gets killed, and the
deputy who was there, like the only other person that was there with the sheriff when the dome came down.
There were
she
two
gets
other guys
made sheriff by default.
Yeah, because the one guy went crazy and shot the dome, and that killed another cop. And then
he runs off in the woods. They hunt him down and kill him. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't have any cops. So they make the psycho a deputy. But they don't know that he's psycho.
They don't realize that he's a psycho, but he's a psycho. Anyway.
And so Junior, Nori, and Joe go to the mini dome, and they put their hands on it, and they realize there's a glowing handprint, like they need a fourth handprint. And one of the things when Junior locked Angie in the bomb shelter, he's like, since this dome came down, you're sick. You're not yourself.
Which made absolutely no sense.
No sense.
Made zero sense. He never explained why he thought that. He just said it. So as the audience, you're supposed to take it as... Oh, he must know something. But no.
It comes off like he's just freaking
It just comes off like he's a freaking lunatic and he's crazy. And she's like, what? Let me out of here. What's the matter with you?
She does tell Rose. So she works for the Sweetbriar, the restaurant. The owner, Rose, she does go to Rose, who happens to be very good friends with Big Jim.
Right.
And she's crying and she tells her what happens. And Rose is like, I believe you. And she said, we're going to take care of this. We'll handle this. Cue a moment later, two guys break in and bludgeon Rose to death.
Yeah, they stab her, beat her to death,
like
stab
bash her head in with a bat.
Yeah, and then they go to try to rape Angie, and then Junior just happens to walk by and he saves her. He kills one of the guys, right? Or no?
No, Barbie does.
Barbie saved her. Okay,
yeah, Barbie saved her.
Sorry, that's right.
Yep. So Barbie saves her, and.
We're giving like so much away.
Oh my God. But it's just so much happens.
There's so much. Yeah. And this is like the first 3 or 4 episodes, everybody.
Yes.
Like this is a lot that goes on.
So basically, then it turns out Junior is the fourth who can touch the dome.
Yeah, I forget how they get to that point, but they figure out he's the fourth. So you have the psychopath who kidnapped the girl, and they're two of the four, and then the girl who was kidnapped and set in a bomb shelter, her brother, and this other girl from, where was she from? California, LA or whatever, with the two lesbian moms. Mm-hmm. She is the other fourth. So those are your four people. When they touch the dome, the egg lights up and shows like a constellation or something on their barn. Was it because they took the egg out of the woods and brought it into their barn? And it shows like a constellation or something up on the roof of their barn.
Like it kind of lights up like a 3D projector all around.
Yeah, and they figure out that they have to go to another spot in the dome or something.
It's like giving them clues to what they have to do. Yeah. And anyone else who tries to touch the egg will get like an electric shock.
They get like zapped and get sent flying away from it.
Knocked out.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, and I feel like, is that a good summary of the first season?
Kinda, I guess. Like, doesn't the... Wait, what happens at the end of the first season? Don't they like? There's so much happens. It's so Big Jim like double crosses people, kills a bunch of people.
Yeah,
trying to keep power.
And like the dome gets black.
The dome blacks out. It's so weird. Like so much just random stuff happens.
What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, and we find out. Oh, that's right. We left out a big thing. Big Jim's wife, Junior's mom, had supposedly committed suicide many years prior.
9 years.
And they find out that she'd been painting all the paintings that she was painting basically were of visions that she had, and they all said that she went crazy or whatever and committed suicide, but turns out she wasn't actually crazy. All the visions that she had were things that were actually happening in the dome. Like she knew the dome was coming. Mm-hmm. And so she faked her death. She didn't actually die. She fakes her death. And she ends up coming in, is the second season where she shows up?
It
was the second
season.
The second
yeah,
season.
She shows up because Junior sees her in some kind of like, I forget what happens.
It was like an email or something.
No. Something happened.
Oh, he has like a vision or something.
He has like a vision, but something happens and he's talking to her. And then like emails can come through for a moment.
For like 5 minutes, they're able to get emails.
He gets an email, like a video.
And he sees an email,
message
like
from
a
her.
video message from his mom.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? She's alive, huh? Yeah, it's whatever.
And then in the high school, they find a locker that goes down to like this tunnel under the school, and then there's just like this whole abyss, like
a cliff, and you look over and it's just black,
nothingness. And it turns out that's a portal that brings you to the next town over called Zenith, where Barbie happens to be from, and Junior's mom is living.
Yeah, so you're actually able to escape they find out by accident that they can actually escape the dome because Barbie gets outside of it, and Sam, who is the brother of Big Jim. Brother-in-law of Big Jim, excuse me.
Who kills Angie.
Angie dies at the beginning of the second season. Spoilers. Yeah. He kills her because he thinks that his sister had visions and that the only way to bring the dome down is to kill the four. Mm-hmm. The four people who can touch the dome or whatever.
It
gets really fucking convoluted.
The egg originally came down 25 years before, in 1998, where it was Junior's mother, her boyfriend Lyle, and
her brother Sam,
and Sam's girlfriend,
whatever her name was, I forget.
It began with an M.
But she Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah,
and they end up finding a meteorite.
A meteorite crashes. They find it, and inside the meteorite,
because it broke open.
Yeah, it broke open, and inside is this egg.
And Melanie feels like she has to protect it. She's drawn to it, and it starts making this noise. Junior's mom is like freaking out by it, and Lyle pushes her and kills her. And then Melanie pops up from a lake where Julia, at the end of the first season, I think, drops the egg in the water.
Sam, Lyle, and whatever the mother's name. What was the mother's name?
I forget. I'll look it up.
Junior's mom, Big Jim's ex or widow. What? Mm-hmm. No, not widow. Widow would be if he died, and she was still alive, right? That's a widow. He's a widower.
He's a widower.
Okay, so his dead wife, who isn't really dead. Anyway, whatever her name is.
Pauline,
thank you. So Pauline, Sam, and Lyle leave the girl, Melanie, for dead. They just leave her. Or they bury her. That's right. They bury her. Jeez, that's right. So they bury her, and then So she's obviously dead. Well, she comes back from the dead while inside the dome somehow. She just fucking appears in a lake, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so that happens. So there's another little twist, and so the second season is all about getting out of the dome.
They're trying to get out.
They're trying to get out.
About the love story between Barbie and Julia. There's a part where like it's getting colder in the dome, and Barbie and Julia take an ambulance to go get food from the Sweetbriar, the restaurant, and it hits black ice. She was in the back trying to secure stuff.
She just randomly decides to get up, and when she gets up, of course, the ambulance hits the black ice.
It flips
tips
on its
over,
side
and she gets impaled by something
in her leg. And so Barbie is like, you got to stay cold because they're like, just everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And then Barbie's like, you just like if your heart rate is low enough, your blood won't be pumping so much, because if you hit an artery, we wouldn't be able to stop the bleeding. We'll, get it out, and I'll resuscitate you. Like, totally ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
But they're talking, he's saying how much he loves her and to stay strong, and they're going to have kids together. They've been together
They've been
for
like
a
week and a half at this point.
No, not even, I don't even know if it's a week and a half.
Yeah, you're right. It might only be a week at this point. I forget.
And so it also focuses on them. It's focusing on what's going on with the egg, but we're really not getting any answers.
Yeah, you don't really get any answers. Like I said, they get out. They do get out of the dome in the middle of season 2, and then they end up coming back in, and then the freaking show goes off the rails. I'm sorry. When season 3 started, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Well, the end
I
of
didn't even
season
want to
2,
watch it.
They get the whole freaking town to go to the cavern under the high school where that abyss is. That brings them to the other town. They get everyone there, but Big Jim fucks it up and throws the egg over.
He takes the egg because he finds out that it's got magical powers or whatever, and that it's the power source. They believe it's the power source to the dome. So he takes it and throws it into the abyss so it can leave and go to Zenith, to some like corporation or something that's looking for it. I don't even, whatever.
Because he thinks it'll help get him out.
Because he thinks it'll help get him out. Just him and his family. That's it. He doesn't care about the town.
They find out.
He just cares about his family.
It closes the portal.
But what happens is it goes through and it closes the portal. So now there's no portal. Somebody jumps off of the thing, right? So somebody jump off the abyss thinking they're going to leave, and they get impaled on like some rocks below because the portal closed.
And also the dome is like closing in on itself when that happens.
Yeah, it starts contracting.
Yeah,
so you're
they got to get out of there. So they go, and they realize they can't go that way. They go a different way in there, and there's all these there's all this shit with monarch butterflies and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And they go this other way, and there's a wall and a bright shining light. At first they think like, great, we've gone all this way for nothing. And then a light appears, and Melanie, because she goes there, and like Pauline and was it Joe and Nori and Junior put their hands on her. This whirlwind comes up and sucks her into the ground. So they go in the cave, and they see a light, and Melanie is there. She's like, come with me. They all go in the light, and all of a sudden it's a year later, and this is the beginning of season 3. So it's apparently a year later, but we realize the people who went through the light, Julia and Junior, got stuck and couldn't make it.
And no, Junior baited in there.
No, not at first.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
And Big Jim didn't want to go because, again, at the end of the previous season, he went on a fucking killing spree because his wife...
Well, because he fucked up, because he threw the egg in and closed the portal. So he realized, I fucked up. So he goes nuts. He goes psycho. Mm-hmm. He had already killed a bunch of people. Now he decides, I'm going to just fucking kill people for no reason.
I forget why Pauline's dying, and she's she gets stabbed. She's in a lot of pain. And so this scientist in the second season, who's kind of annoying, gives her morphine to OD her because that's what Pauline asked for. So Jim goes crazy. So he doesn't go with everybody. He just stays in the dome on his own. So everyone who went down, all the townspeople, they end up in these
Why wasn't
cocoons.
Julia in there again? I forget.
She didn't make it. She had Barbie go ahead. She was doing something. I think because Big Jim, she was trying to keep Big Jim away because he was trying to kill her. And there was this big gap, and it opened so far she couldn't get across.
That's what it
because she was stabbed in the leg from the accident, and she was injured. So
That's the other thing too. People heal inside
Oh
the
my
dome
gosh.
very quickly.
And-
it's never mentioned, but they all heal very fast.
And that's another reason why, like, people get shot, they get injured, and they're healed within like the next episode.
Yeah, it
like
makes you think more
by.
time has gone by.
Yeah.
But then they say it's only been 3 days or 5 days or whatever, and you're like, what? How's this possible? how did they heal so fast? And it's never mentioned in the show. None of the characters say, "Oh, I'm healing quick," or "So and so healed fast." No, it's never mentioned. It's just all of a sudden people are just fine.
Yeah,
like people get in fist fights. They'll be all bloodied up, black eyes, fat lips, whatever. The next day they're fine, like nothing. It's like, what?
And I forgot to mention in season 2, the reason Pauline got in the dome was Barbie fell in the abyss. He ends up in Zenith. He finds the door. He finds Pauline, and he's working with one of her old students who's some genius who got caught for hacking, is working for this big corporation that his dad happens to own, that Barbie's dad happens to own. And the door to get into the dome is on his property.
It's on Barbie's property.
It's on Barbie's family, dad's property. Right. So they go in. So there's Pauline and this hacker kid, Hunter. And that's how Pauline and this kid get in, because that plays a part with this Hunter kid in the 3rd season. So they're showing almost like 2 realities. One of the townspeople.
This is season 3 we're in now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The townspeople who kind of went into the light, it shows them the dome. They're outside of the dome. And
so you get a glimpse of their life outside the dome. And as it starts, you're thinking, oh, they all got out. Cool. Great. Wonderful.
But it's weird because you're like, oh, okay, like this is a year later.
Yeah, but then it'll like phase into the dome again, and you're seeing Julia and Big Jim there. So you're like, oh, so they just didn't make it out of the dome. That sucks. They're still inside, but...
And then it turns out the townspeople actually get sucked in these cocoons.
Yeah, they never made it out of the dome. They're underground, and they're stuck in these cocoons. And they're having like these vision. Basically, they're in like an alternate reality, Matrix style. That's pretty much what's happening, right?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I misspoke.
And they're only in there for like a day.
Yeah,
they're not in there very long, but in their mind, inside of the cocoon, they've lived a year, and they have like a year's worth of memories and like a year's worth of interactions with other people. New relationships form.
Well, Barbie,
all kinds of craziness.
When he gets out of the dome, what he thinks, he goes over to find Julia, and because he's able, like, the dome's gone and she's dead and Junior's dead. And so it's like a year later, and he moves on. He has a new girlfriend and all this stuff. And that introduces these new characters. And there's a woman who's like this psychiatrist who comes in from FEMA or something to help the town with their trauma. And they go to the 1-year memorial, and they start realizing, Barbie's realizing, like, stuff's not adding up. Things aren't right. And Julia and Big Jim basically save everybody. Junior.
Yeah, they find out that they're in these cocoons. They happen to figure out, oh, they're not out of the dome. They're in these cocoons. And like I said, it's within a day.
Yeah.
And they end up just getting them all out.
Yeah, Junior goes to help, and he ends up getting, like, knocked out. And Melanie was there. She basically put him in a cocoon. And all of a sudden, Junior shows up in this other reality. And everyone's like, oh, hey, Junior. And Barbie's like, wait, you were dead. I found you. You were dead. But then he starts getting memories, showing how it manipulates this false reality, manipulates their mind. So Big Jim and Julia rescue all the people from the cocoons. And then you're dealing with these characters who are in the cocoons they basically, in their mind, lived a whole year. And now they're trying to deal with, it's been like a day, and they're still in the dome. Yeah. And I said to Alex, I can kind of get how that messes with you, because if you've ever had a dream that felt so real, like, I know in the past, like, especially ladies out there, ever have a dream where your boyfriend's cheating on you, and you wake up and it felt so real, and you're so upset, and then you're mad at them, and they're sleeping right there, and they didn't do shit to you, but you're mad at them because in your dream they cheated on you. I thought, I get that. That's probably what it feels like. So where these other people, fell in love, or they moved on, or whatever, that, even though it's only been a day in real life, in their mind, they've grown a year. And that creates all these dynamics. And it really started pissing us off, because now Barbie has a new girlfriend, and he's torn between Julia, who's alive, and this new chick. There's What's her name? Marge
The actress name is Marge
Helgenberg.
Helgenberg.
Anyway,
I forget.
and this woman's like in her 50s. And her character is like, she's supposed to be like the queen, because you find out it's this fucking alien race who came to Earth to take over human bodies to try to cohabitate with them because their planet's being destroyed by another alien race. It's so fucking convoluted.
It's so stupid.
And now Barbie is stuck in this love triangle, but basically these aliens kind of create a hive mentality, almost like bees, where you have the drones and you have like the people who are just kind of brainwashed, and it's all like for the kinship, as they call it. And as I joked around with Alex, if anyone's seen Hot Fuzz, the great to good. And then you have Barbie, who it's just so awkward how he's torn. And Julia's like, I love you, and like, you love me, as if they've been together for 20 fucking years or something, and it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And I'm sorry, but this whole alien thing, I mean, you figured it had to be kind of something like that, but the way it's done, I don't know. Again, I think I mentioned to you, I don't know how the scripts for this season, this third season, made it past. I don't know how it got out of the writer's room. I don't know how directors actually looked at this and went, oh, yeah, this is good. I'll film this. I don't know how the producers thought, oh, this is good. I don't know how Stephen King himself said, oh, yeah, I approve it. This is good. I don't know how network executives looked at this and went, oh, yeah, this will be great. How did this get made? How did it even air? Apparently,
Stephen King said he was very disappointed with the way it came out.
Well, that's good, but he had to give approval because he's one of the producers.
I guess.
I'm like, what is this nonsense?
Maybe it sounded good on paper.
Oh, it's just terrible.
Like, all this shit happens. So like they're saying like the dome's calcifying and we're gonna run out of oxygen. I'm sorry. Last I checked, there are fucking trees in that dome.
There's tons of trees. There's a lake. It rains in there.
And it's huge.
They're able to grow crops and all this. Like,
how would it run out of oxygen within like a day?
Yeah, and so many people have died. It's not like you have that many people taking up oxygen or using oxygen. The trees are still alive. They obviously, at last I checked, that's how trees work, right?
Yeah.
They take in carbon dioxide and emit oxygen. Like that's what that's how our whole Earth operates.
Oh my God. I just realized we totally skipped over Max in season 2.
No, it was season 1.
That was season 1?
Max was season 1. Shit.
So Barbie's boss, Max, is a woman.
It's a woman who apparently he had some kind of romantic relationship with.
And she's there.
And she's in the town, and she was the drug dealer. She was the one behind the entire drug ring.
She's a kingpin or whatever.
Yeah, she's like the kingpin
of all this shit.
Yeah, but whatever. That's another side story. It only lasts, that arc only goes like 3 or 4 episodes. She ends up getting killed by Big Jim.
But again, so much happens.
It's like, yeah, but again.
So Barbie essentially like starts getting brainwashed by.
We're back in season 3.
Yeah, sorry. Back by this, the kinship. And
yes, they call the aliens, call themselves the kinship.
And so you have the queen, who's Christine, and she wants Ava, they're both like archaeologists who discovered the egg and they were the first to touch it. So they were the first in the dome. And that's why they're in the memories. So when they come out, Christine's trying to manipulate people. They're basically becoming the kinship. The aliens are trying to take over the bodies. And Ava is the one who Barbie was having a relationship with, because Barbie and Ava are supposed to do it and have a baby, and that's supposed to be the new queen of the kinship. So it ends up happening where Barbie and Ava have sex, and the next day Ava's pregnant, and 3 days later she's having the baby. And Barbie's all like, he gets unbrainwashed by Julia about how much she loves him.
Because they figure out that emotion and pain are what can get somebody to shake the whole brainwash or whatever. That's how you come out of the spell.
Barbie's all like, my daughter. It's like, dude, you had sex like 3 days ago with this chick. And granted, it's not a normal pregnancy as they put it, but it's like, it's so weird because the way this character is acting, it's like, it's not even about his daughter. It's like he just like saying my daughter.
He's like in love with the word daughter. Because he says it over and over and over again.
It's so annoying.
And it's like, dude, like, what do you mean? You barely know this woman, and it's not like you've been with her very long. I mean, yeah, granted the year in whatever, but in the virtual reality or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
But in actuality, he's only been with her like a day or two. But then again, we're talking about a guy who fell in love with Julia after like 2 days. So who knows?
But he keeps like talking about his daughter, and he needs to get his daughter.
I need to save my daughter.
My daughter.
It's like, dude.
And he keeps going like, my daughter, like with such conviction. Oh my God. It's just, it was so bad. And
you, like I said, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off, but I could not, most shows, you have a baby face, the hero that you can get behind. You sympathize with them. You want them to succeed. Yes, they're going to have their obstacles they have to overcome. They're going to get knocked down. They're going to get beat up, but they're going to make a comeback. They're going to make that dramatic comeback, and eventually they're going to rise and they're going to win in the end. In like 99.9% of stories. And you root for the hero. You want him to win. You want the underdog to come back against all odds and overcome and win. That's a good story. That's a good movie, a good show, book, whatever. Every single hero in this show is an idiot.
They're an idiot. Stupid.
They're stupid. They're annoying. They make dumb choices. They're idiots. And then the heels, the bad guys, most bad guys, a good, effective bad guy is, they're evil. They have bad intentions. They harm people. They hurt people, whatever. But they're at least, most of them you can respect because they are smart. They've put planning into things. They're either patient, they're meticulous, they're ruthless, whatever it is. But there's something that you can respect about them. You don't necessarily root for them, but you can respect the character. No, not this show. This show, they're fucking idiots. They're stupid.
Okay.
They're all dumb. They make the dumbest decisions. They shoot themselves in the foot, proverbially
have no
speaking.
redeeming qualities.
There's nothing redeeming whatsoever about anyone on this show.
Wait,
no one.
There's one character I do like.
Tell me.
There's a dog.
The dog is the only one. Yeah, thank you.
There's a dog.
The dog is the only character.
That's in so many episodes.
Fair enough.
And
I'll give you
more
that.
so towards the last
and
season.
This is in season 3. You see this dog mostly.
Mostly.
Yes.
Shows up in season 1, but mostly in season 3. The dog's okay.
Okay. I forgot about the dog. You're right. The dog. But everybody else?
Oh my gosh.
Hunter, idiot. The Joe, idiot. Nori, idiot. The two moms, idiots.
Mm-hmm.
The scientist lady, idiot. The Big Jim, whatever, who knows. Junior pissed me off so much. I was rooting for this guy to die.
Yeah.
Like
And
like you're just rooting for someone to just die.
Another character who at first is like a bad guy, and then all of a sudden he's kind of a hero, and then a bad guy, and then a hero. And I get how they did that with his dad too, but it's just so repulsive because it's like,
but it's not good.
It's not good.
There's
it's
nothing
just
good about it. It's annoying. It's like
ugh.
What? Yeah, it's like, okay, now cheer for him, but it's like, no, why? Why would I cheer for this person?
And I just want to clarify, when I say it's repulsive, not the character, but the story writing.
Yeah, it's just bad.
It's so
not
bad.
Good.
Like, everyone's a fucking idiot.
Everybody's a bonehead.
They do the stupidest things, and they say the stupidest things, and it's just so unrealistic.
They make the dumbest choices,
gosh.
dumbest decisions.
What scene was it where I quoted Spaceballs? Because that's like what it felt like. I forget what scene it was, but all I thought of was Spaceballs, where Dark Helmet gets the ring from Bill Pullman's
You idiot. You fell for the oldest trick in the book. Yeah.
That's like, what I was thinking. That's what it felt like.
We're watching it and we're like, are you fucking serious? Like, what? How did this happen? How was this?
Goodness.
What I want to know is, I know now I know they're actors. They do whatever's on the script. But how can you in good conscience sit there and act something out like that and think it's good?
Or do they just care about the paycheck?
Or do they not even? I mean, I guess they obviously didn't care. There's no way they could have been in this acting it and saying that it was good, thinking it was good. There's no way. And if they did, hey, then maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. But this was just not good at all. Nothing about this show was good. The last season especially. First season, again, it was okay. And then it started to kind of slowly go downhill as it progressed. Second season was, it was like on a scale of 1 to 10, probably about maybe a 5, 6.
4 or 5.
Season 3,
1.
done.
I give it a 1.
Shits. Awful. Terrible. The way the show ended. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Monique's going to have to say how the show ended. Again, spoilers, because I fell asleep because I was like, fuck this show.
I don't even want to get there. I just
fell asleep.
I don't even want to get there because it's so fucking bad.
And when she told me, I was like, I don't need to watch it.
They worked together with the aliens to break down the dome using sound waves and amethyst crystals. And the dome comes down and Barbie has to kill his daughter, who's the queen, who basically ages in like less than a day to an adult and looks basically
exactly
played by the actress of the woman he was banging or whatever.
Right.
And he kills her only to show, like, is it a year later where like Big Jim is now a congressman. Barbie and Julie are out on the road and Hunter and this other chick who shows up are working for Big Jim and like in NSA or something, and they find Barbie and Julia that the queen is back, and she finds another egg. Basically, we discover at the end of the season, and that was it.
Which apparently, I think I read on IMDb or something that they kind of left it like that because they were hoping for a fourth season, but
thank God they didn't.
It didn't get picked up, thankfully.
I typically don't agree with network executives on stuff, but this was a good call by CBS, I'll say.
I can't believe they allowed it to go a third season.
Gosh.
They should have seriously ended it after the first season. Now, wasn't it originally planned for one season?
It was, from what I read.
And then they decided, because it was doing well in the ratings,
so
they were
well.
like, oh, let's extend it or whatever. But I didn't read the book. Part of me wants to read the book, but then another part of me is like, do I really want to go and put myself through this? Because I don't know how the book ends up. I don't know how much different it is than the show. But I saw it's like over 1,000 pages. Just like, wow, that's a big time investment right there.
Yeah.
And the show left such a bad taste in my mouth that I don't think I even want to bother.
And it's funny because when we were watching, especially during season 2, we're like, this is like a mix between Jericho, which I think was another CBS show.
Another CBS show.
And Lost. That's kind of what it felt like, a mix of. But it just got, like, Lost. I know people have their thoughts on Lost. Some people didn't like it. Some people loved it. But, like,
I liked Lost, getting a little sidetracked. I liked Lost after I watched it the third time through. The first time, I loved it till the end, and then I hated it. And then I decided to watch it again the second time, and I was like, that wasn't so bad. And then when we watched it through the third time again, several years later, we watched it through again with our kid. All of our kids watched it with us, right?
I thought it was just us. I don't remember.
No, it was us.
Oh,
the kids watched it too. They enjoyed it. And when we watched it through the third time, I liked it. I ended up liking it, so it grew on me. But anyway, go ahead.
So it did kind of feel like Jericho meets Lost,
in some ways, yeah.
But it just went from an interesting concept, getting you by what's going on, like what's happening here, to basically I've invested this much time. It's only 3 seasons.
That's little, and the seasons are short. They're only 13 episodes.
Yeah, but it was so bad.
So that's really the only reason that I stuck with it after episode 1 of the third season. But I was done like that.
Even
I was
by
checked
second
out.
season, it was like
I'm like. But yeah, the third season though, by the time that third season, that first episode was over, I'm like, this show just fucking hit the shits. It hit the shitter. It went down. It's done.
So bad.
And it didn't get any better. It got worse. Every episode progressively got worse till the end, and that was just terrible. And it made no fucking sense. The finish made no sense. That they're just allowed with this dormant alien virus in them to just roam free, like no problem. Like the government would ever fucking do that if this was real life.
Like they let them see the light of day.
But they it's just so stupid and so unrealistic, and the characters are terrible. Nothing redeeming about them.
Yeah.
Big Jim becomes a congressman.
I said that.
Yeah, right. But like it's so stupid. It's like, come on. Whatever.
Yeah, so we basically, if you're still with us, you just listened to us bitch about how bad Under the Dome was.
Yeah.
For the past hour. So thank you.
Yeah,
now,
thanks. This was like therapeutic.
It was. Now, I look at it this way. If you've never seen the show,
don't
you
bother.
Either now don't want to, or now you're going to have this morbid curiosity and you're going to have to watch it.
Now you might have to watch it just to see if you hate it as much as we did.
And if you have seen the show or you end up watching it after listening to this,
please
share with us your thoughts.
I would love to hear from anybody that watched the show and thought it was good. I would love to hear why you thought it was good. I would love to get somebody's alternate viewpoint on this because I cannot imagine why anybody would like this show, but I'm sure there are people that did. and that do if they see it. So I would
But
love to
do those
hear.
people listen to our podcast?
Right, yeah. But if you're somebody that listens to our podcast, is listening to this show, and you've watched this show and actually enjoyed it, respectfully, I would love to hear why.
Or if there's something that you could not stand about the show that we did not talk about, let it out. You tell us about it.
Yeah,
Get that therapeutic verbalization out. Let it all out and tell us.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that's enough of this under the dome. I have dome fatigue now.
Yes. Hopefully you guys don't.
Hopefully not. All right. Well, thanks for listening to us, guys.
We love you.
Complain and bitch about this terrible
Hopefully
show.
you were entertained by it and got some laughs out of it.
Hopefully. If you watched it, you know what we're talking about, because I cannot, like I said, I can't imagine anybody actually enjoyed it. And if you did and you listened to our show, I hope I changed your mind.
I will say it was funny because at one point Alex said, like, what did you say? Like, he said, want to watch Dome? And I thought you said, like, want to watch Dumb?
No, I said, want to watch that Dome show?
Oh, and I thought he said, want to watch that Dumb show? And I'm like, I know it's dumb, but like...
Yeah, I said Dome, but you thought I said dumb. I think subconsciously you'd already made up your mind that the show was dumb.
I think so.
But again, we binged it too. We did it over like a week or two, right?
Which is why I was like, let's just record tonight and get it out while it's fresh in our minds.
Get it out while it's fresh. But we just finished it last night, so all right, let's fine. I guess I'll talk about it. I don't really want to, but whatever. But yeah, we got. How long have we been talking about this for?
An hour.
Over an hour. So there you go. All right. Well, I think that's a good time to say sayonara, everybody. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely wife, the gorgeous Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.
We love hearing from and interacting with our hearers and watchers. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter
at HomewreckerPod.
You can also visit our website,
homewreckerpodcast.com,
where you can check out past episodes and pick up some Homewrecker Podcast gear from our online store.
Also, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're hearing or watching our show. That way you can be notified whenever a new episode drops. We're on all major podcasting platforms, and you can check out the video versions of our show at YouTube and Brighteon.
You can also find Monique in a few places online as well.
I'm on Twitter @_MoniqueGiselle_. If you're interested in a tarot reading, organite, incense, candles, and other cool things, you can go to my website, tarotbymonique.com. Or if you're interested in hypnotherapy, you can go to innerstandingshypnosis.com to schedule a free 20-minute consult. And follow me on Twitter @MoniquePCHT. And Alex, how can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter @TheAlexArion, and you can check out my website, AlexArionFitness.com.
And if that's too much to remember, we get it. That's why we put it all in our show notes.
Thanks for spending your time with us, and we appreciate all of your support.
We do. Thank you. We love you. Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Inner Standings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.